So, hello everyone. Welcome to Attitudinal Healing Around the World, a webinar series sponsored by Attitudinal Healing International. Today, we're so pleased to welcome Els Thissen and Emilia van Leent from the Attitudinal Healing Center in the Netherlands. Els founded the center, I think around 20 years ago, maybe a little more, and it's currently one of the largest and long-lived centers in the whole world. So congratulations, Els. We're so pleased that you are continuing to share attitudinal healing in so many wonderful ways. For those of you who don't know Els, she's had a really variety of experiences in her life. She started out her career as a police officer. She has a certificate from law school. She graduated from law school. And she also has an interest and education in fine arts. So she's really a kind of a Renaissance woman, so to speak. Yes. And she has been working with attitudinal healing and family constellations for more than 20 years, and will be sharing a lot of that wisdom with us today. Emilia also has a varied background. She's an educator as well as a psychiatric nurse, and she also uses attitudinal healing and A Course in Miracles, as Els does in her work. And both of them are going to be sharing with us their insights and their experiences with answering the question that we all have during most of our lives, and that is, how can I truly be happy? So yes. Welcome, Els. Welcome, Emilia. We look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you, Trish.
Yes, thank you.
So, Emilia.
Well, we would like to start with Shelley. So there's just the four of us. We would like to start with introducing ourselves as a group to each other. So would you tell us your name, where you're from, and how you came across attitudinal healing?
Shall I start, Shelley?
Yes, please.
I live in Vancouver, BC. I found the book Love is Letting Go of Fear in, it must have been 1981. It was right before my son was born, so it's 37 years ago. Yes. And I just found it so much easier to understand all of Jim Polsky's stuff as compared to the Course in Miracles. And at varying times, I've gone to little groups that might spring up, but there's never really been anything very formal here in Vancouver. I think there's one group. I think there's one group that has something in Costa Rica for youth, but I've never gone to that.
Okay.
So that's all. And every once in a while I pull out the books and I read them, and I try my best to practice the principles.
Okay, thank you. Anything else you'd like to add at this point?
Sorry, I didn't understand that. It was muffled.
Is there anything else you would like to add at this point?
Well, I'm interested in the topic. And I guess I'm following you on Twitter or Facebook or something, and when this came up, I thought, oh, good. And there's something I can connect in with the attitudinal healing people. And before I even noticed what the subject was. So I have a question. Are you going to do these regularly? Or what?
The webinar is organized by the Center for Attitudinal Healing, International Center for Attitudinal Healing. So we don't do this regular, but well, the center has every month a webinar. Yeah. So you say trusting in a wisdom. The topic was took your interest. So first, Emilia, do you want us to add something to the introduction Trish made?
Well, I'd like to introduce myself in the sense that Well, Trish really told all about it, but the very first time I came across attitudinal healing is very interesting because I was working as a psychiatric nurse with, so to speak, difficult people, and I came across a leaflet of attitudinal healing, and in it said that if you had difficulty with someone, and I had difficulty with some patients, then you had to look within. And I was so angry about what I read that I tore up the paper and threw it away and picked it out of the bin again because I thought, well, this anger is so overdone. There must be something in here for me to learn. And that's how I came across attitudinal healing and started participating in a group. And you, Els?
Yes, first I have to add to Trish, I'm not the founder of the center, but after it was founded, I took it over, and that's quite a few years ago. It was in the 90s and of the last century, and well, attitudinal healing, it was for me like if I got hit by a train because of the truth in it, and it really brought me trust and peace, I can say. And of course, sometimes things are disturbing me, but there's a really it brought a trust, and facilitating attitudinal healing groups was the biggest teacher I could ever imagine. It was really great. So every time focus on the principles and the guidelines. Okay, is there something you want to add to this, Shelley, or from your point of view or from you?
No, I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say about trusting inner wisdom.
Okay.
Yes.
So we want to use the principles and really focus on the principles, and we have made. I will show you the first
Slide.
The first slide.
Els, I'm going to interrupt.
And
I want to interrupt for just a second. Do you notice that there is another participant here, Lucky Wells? You might want to have her introduce herself as well.
Okay, thank you, Trish. Let's start with Lucky then. Please, Lucky, introduce yourself. We can't hear you.
Hi, my name is Lucky Joy. I'm from Kauai.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful name, by the way.
Isn't that great?
Yes, Lucky Joy, yes. Mahalo.
I love attitudinal healing, and getting to know ourselves is a key to happiness. Mahalo.
Yeah.
Hello.
Thank you, Lucky Joy.
Thank you.
Hi, Lucky.
Thank you.
So it's not
Being is love. And what we've tried to do, and I think we succeeded pretty well in that, is to put questions in our slideshow that would help you go within, and that would help you find your inner truth and your own inner answers. That's why we call them helpful questions. So if we see this first principle, the essence of our being is love, helpful questions would be, do you believe this? Would someone like to say something about that?
I believe it. Only love is real, right?
Yes, and is it a living reality for you?
It's one I keep coming back to.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in what way?
Well, it seems that it really does boil down to two things, love or fear, and there's a very distinct feeling difference between them. And when I remember that it's that simple, it helps a lot.
Yes. So does that include everyone and everything without exception, as far as you're concerned?
In the absolute sense, yes. The way it looks here, it's hard to see that, and I try not to pay too much attention to that, and just
Yeah.
remember that there's another reality.
Okay. So when you just spoke about the difference between love and fear, do you think for you, does love include fear, or how does that work for you?
Ah, yeah. Well, at the beginning of the course, it says that love can embrace fear, but fear cannot embrace love. So love seems to be able to have enough compassion in it to say, okay, you were afraid, or that's fearful, and my arms are around you anyway. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't reject it, whereas fear seems to question love and doubt it and
Yeah.
criticize it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you all, in fact, you already answered the next question. Are you always aware of the message of this principle?
No, I wish I was.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's one other principle I'd like to share. We'll come to that other principle, but I'd like to share that there is this other principle. I can be peaceful inside, regardless of what is happening outside. And what helped me very much in my life is that I added to that, regardless of what's happening outside and inside. And that really brought a different level to my experience of existence, in the sense that I could be sort of an observator of myself, and it could look very, um, it could look very heftig.
Sophia?
Yeah, things could look pretty rough or severe, and yet I knew that all was well. And that was a great change in my life when I realized that.
Yeah, that's very helpful. Thank you.
So Shelley, when I don't, when I cannot see love or are aware of the essence of our being is love, the way I approach that is with the sentence, I must have overlooked something. I must have looked in a way that's not correct, or that's not the right way. I must have overlooked something. So I keep looking again and again and again, and just to find something I can appreciate in the situation. So that's how I approach this principle. So is Lucky still there?
Yes, I think she is. I think she is.
Yeah, but if
She's
she,
still there.
Yeah,
it would be
yeah.
nice if she could. Hey, someone new, Sarah.
Fortune.
Sarah, welcome, Sarah.
And Sarah. The line would be maybe overloaded or something.
Better for me too.
Sarah, maybe you can tell us a bit about you and your relation or your knowledge, yeah, your
How you came to how you came across attitudinal healing?
Well, I came to attitudinal healing through my sister picked up Teach Only Love at an Course in Miracles conference in 2009 and brought it back to our Sacred Circle group. And in November, she presented it, and 5 of us, and actually some of us have met you out at the 40th anniversary celebration, and anyway, so we called Jerry, we contacted Jerry, and Jerry and Diane were like best friends since, like, we'd known them our whole lives, and helped us start the Heartlight Center for Inner Peace, got us a workshop, hooked us up with Maruha. We just jumped right in with both feet and started they said the best way to learn it was to start a group. So we started a group and created our study groups, which are a little different than the support groups that most people do, but we study one, like the St. Louis group.
Okay.
We study the principles one at a time that way, instead of all together. And then all together.
Yeah.
That's it. If you want to know more, I'll tell you more.
We just, can you see the questions we have added to the essence of our being is love?
Yes, I can.
Okay, we just heard Shelley about these questions, and maybe you can, do you believe the essence of our being is love? Maybe.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Is it a living
no question
for you?
Yes, it is. It is. I believe that we are all spirit in oneness, and that when we act from that place, when we choose love, then that's when our life is whole and happy. And the principles are awesome ways to help us do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Does this include everyone without exception? Yes. Are you always aware of the message of this principle? When I choose to be mindful and aware of it. Sometimes, of course, it's not at the top where it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be helpful for you to remind myself of it. Absolutely. And I love that picture.
Yeah. So what would be helpful for you to remind you of your essence? How do you do that?
How do I do that? I have like mini altars all over the house. I love crystals. I have mighty companions, my sisters that are still part of Heartlight, remind me. Mm-hmm. And I have a Sacred Circle group of people to remind me. I have an animal who reminds me. I have a husband who reminds me.
Not always, I expect.
No, not always. Sometimes he gets me off track, but...
So what, for example, if he leaves the dirty linen out?
Yeah, right, exactly.
I mean, that for me, that would be, I love practical spirituality. I really love to do, and that's where the principles help me to, I love to remind myself and to practice that, that realization just with this sort of thing, the little things that bug me or that, annoy me or whatever.
Yes.
How's that for other people? I mean, I see Catherine has arrived, and Shelley's still here, I think.
And so, Lenny, are you on yet? Is my mic on? I'm wondering.
Hello?
Is my mic
Hello?
on?
Yes, we.
Okay.
Yes. Lucky we hear you.
Sorry,
We hear you.
just rolled out of bed, so you get what you get. Thank you. I'm enjoying it.
Good, good.
So maybe Lucky, you want to answer the questions also?
Okay. Yes, I do believe in it, and it's really great to have that confidence in people, even though they sometimes don't act like this. They just don't know it yet. So part of our work is to share that, with people who are ready and asking for it. So yeah, a living reality, yes, and to appreciate it in myself is big for me. And I know I live in a place where there's a lot of love, so I'm very lucky that way, and it really helps.
I can imagine, yes.
Yeah, and so I'm not always aware of it. So some of the ways I can remind myself is in my meditation and, just in my mind too. If somebody doesn't always act so loving, I can help myself understand them, and then I can come back into my own love, and that helps.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, and Catherine, did you already find the microphone? I don't think so. No, we will wait till we will see when Catherine comes up. Let's go to is there something you want to add, Shelley? Shelley, your microphone is off. Is there something you want to add?
There. I turned it off to see if the sound would be less muffled.
Yes.
The sound's coming in and out. Sometimes it's very clear, and other times it's very, very muffled. But
Okay.
I see there's Catherine Miller. I'm wondering if she's had a chance to speak.
Not yet, but we will go on, and then when she found the microphone, the way she can put it on, we will come to her. Okay? Let's go to the next one. We want to see how the principles really can be of help for us to find our true answer and to find our own answer and in a wisdom that goes together with the principles when we really dive into them. So health is inner peace, healing is letting go of fear. Health is inner peace. So this idea of health is not seeing on a body but on inner peace. Are we always clear about that? And healing is letting go of fear. So it doesn't look at the body, or it doesn't see the body, but it sees the inner state. It's really rethinking about health and about peace and about fear and about the body. It is rethinking. So are we always aware of inner peace or upset?
How's that for you? Who would like to say something about that?
So anyone who wants to share can just turn on your microphone and share, or if you prefer to raise your hand, there's a little icon at the top of your screen that's a little person with their hand raised. If you click on that icon, your hand will be raised, and Else and Emilia will know that you want to speak.
So I can see Shelley is the only one who has the microphone on. Shelley!
Okay. Are you aware of your own inner peace or upset? Yeah, I have very fluctuating moods. I just seem to ride a roller coaster of waves, and so I'm very aware. And I've learned to be at peace with that. It took me a long time to not say that if I was on the low end of the wave that I was depressed, to stop calling it that, and started to look at it as more my inward time. And so doing that has helped me be more peaceful, whether I'm happy on top of the world and I'm never really exuberant. So we say I'm kind of more peaceful, happy. And so now the lower end of it is peaceful as well. It's my time where I journal more or go for walks more, or I'm just quieter.
Yes, yes. So can you relate that to finding your own inner answer?
I didn't hear the first part of that.
Can you relate what you just told us with finding your own inner answer, trusting your own wisdom?
Yes, I haven't thought of it quite that way, but there is definitely a sensation, just like the waves of going up and down emotionally, to when something's right for me.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
almost it's a physical sensation in my innards, my gut, I guess. Something
yes.
gut feeling, right?
Gut feeling, yes, yes.
So Lucky raises her hand. Maybe we can uh, go to Lucky now. You have to put your your microphone on.
Okay,
And
thank you.
so,
Hey,
are you aware?
yes, I'm here still.
What would you like to share?
Oh,
Yes.
I just love it, the way in attitudinal
Can you?
healing you're taking responsibility for yourself. So when something isn't working right for you, you know there's something you can do. And also, you get to know yourself more because you got to go inside and go, well, what's bothering me here? Why am I afraid? And how can I help myself be happier today?
So it's really empowering to you.
Yes, and helping you get to know yourself better is that for me is like a big source for happiness.
Yes, thank you. But
Yes, I am. When I look at the second question, if you are upset, what is it you are afraid of? And maybe you can all think about that question and answer the question, and then see if there is a pattern, a repeating pattern, maybe.
Yeah, I have often found that, and I used to have a thing about that I was a victim, so I was often afraid of other people. And then as I learned to understand my own reactions and other people's actions when they were afraid sometimes, then it helped me to be more at peace with it, and understand that it wasn't me a lot of times. But the things that are me, I can do something about. And that is dealing with my own fears and recognizing that they were often about things in the past, often, and old stories that I learned.
yes,
Yeah.
Okay, a question for all of us. How can you reassure yourself, and how do you make yourself more fearful? Do you know the difference between the two? How do you reassure yourself, and how do you upset yourself? Are you aware of that? Sarah?
Yes, I am aware. I think a good example for me was actually this morning. I'd had a busy weekend visiting children, grandchildren in Baltimore, drove back to Syracuse last night, and got a lot of emails of all the things I was supposed to be responding to and doing with the family, and my other responsibilities. And this morning I woke up feeling really overwhelmed, and so I'm in the shower thinking, okay, I'm clearly not having inner peace. And why is that? So I realized that it was because I was afraid of being judged as not holding up my end of things and not doing what I, quote, should be doing. And so I went actually to this principle and seeing the whole rather than the fragments and really concentrate on that. It helped, and then I went and did a meditation, I did yoga and a meditation where I accessed my whole self, my one self, my higher self. I just brought it all down into the physical and into the present moment, and that really helped me a lot. It really helped me a lot, and yeah, so that's how I reassured myself that in this present moment I am okay, and I'm doing all I can do, and my essence is love. And it took a bit, but I definitely got to a more peaceful place, and I was clearly making myself more fearful by worrying that I wasn't going to do enough, so I wasn't doing anything.
That's a wonderful example. Thank you.
Yeah, it was nice to have the tools.
Yes.
Yes.
So to have them and to use them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Shelley, do you want to add something to this?
Shelley, you're unmuted now, so you should be able to, if you want.
Sorry to say, I'm missing so much because of muffled sound, and now can't get my light back on. Well, I can see you. Your mic is
Oh, okay.
working, Shelley.
Okay, good. I thought that was something on my end.
It is working.
So, do you want to add something to this, to what we heard up till now?
Well, about reassuring ourselves and how can we make ourselves more fearful? It's a choice in what we think, I think. It's my experience that I can turn things around for myself. It's almost like stepping out of the dark and into the light just by reminding myself that everything is ultimately okay.
So, well, ultimately, and in the beginning, maybe also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is so fascinating that love really includes everything. That's why Elle says in the beginning also, not ultimately everything will be okay, but in the beginning also, all is well, in a way.
Yes, not in a way, always.
Yeah.
Well, that's when we approach life, not just as a mental exercise, but really from a deep longing that all is well. It's like almost exploding right in our face. Mm-hmm. And are we willing to open up to this for the ego crazy idea that all is well? And of course there all kinds of things happen and we have to deal with it. But what if we just are willing to explode from the inside, explode into love? Well, just a little word to that, a little remark to that. Shall we go on to the next one? Hey, Shelley's way. Okay. Giving and receiving are the same. Wow. So what is coming up when you see this what's your experience with what is your experience with this principle, with this, and I mean not mental, but I mean in daily life? Have you experienced that giving and receiving are the same?
And what is your conclusion about it? What have you learned from that?
Who would like to say something about that?
Lucky or Sarah? Or Emilia?
Or else? I found this principle one of the hardest of them all, and I still feel I don't really understand it. But to me, how I've come to understand it, and I've gotten no further, is that this also for me links with all is well. I mean, if I'm, for example, not happy and I share my unhappiness in an attitudinal healing group, you might say that I'm not giving something, but probably I am. But again, I think this is one of the hardest principles for me to understand. We talked about this before.
Have you ever experienced it?
Well, I remember, I don't know if you recognize this, but I remember there was a man and there was an instant loathing towards that man. And I do not have that very often, but this man, there was an instant loathing, and I decided to just watch him and look for something nice in him. And it didn't take very long. It took me, not me, but it took about 4 to 5 minutes, and then I saw him smile at someone and pour a cup of coffee. And I thought what I gave was my willingness to see something else. And that is also what I then experienced.
I always, this is Elsie, I always think of reading a book of Jerry Polsky, and he said there was a boy in the hospital and he was complaining and moaning and whatever, and Jerry said, give what you want, or give the baby love, something like that. And then there came a totally different experience from short, an idea of shortness or of having short to overflow, to abundance.
So from the sense of lack,
yes,
there was a sense of abundance.
Yes, and it struck me when I read it, and I thought, well, always when I want something, am I able to give it? So in the giving, I experience it myself, and that is, it's when I can have, when I can offer something, and it might just be a laugh or a kind word or whatever. It makes me happy.
Yeah.
Let's go. That's what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, other people, Lucky or Sarah,
Hi.
are you willing to
I
share
am.
something about it? Lucky.
This is kind of like advanced for me, for attitudinal healing for me, because at the beginning I really needed more like receiving, and I needed more to get to know myself, that I felt like I had something before I really could give it and give it freely and not feel like there wasn't enough for me. So it's a sign of growth for me. And I really enjoy now kind of being blurry in that line, and it's like giving feels as good as receiving, and the other way around. I could actually now receive work more on the receiving in different ways. So there's just so much in this to practice. Oh, yeah.
Yes. It's this principle also reminds me of the prayer of St. Francis. Lord, help me to console rather than be consoled. And there's a number of things added to that prayer, and I think that reminds me of it as well. And we see, Sarah, that you've put in your microphone. Would you like to share?
So lucky that I appreciate her sharing, because it reminded me of that was definitely true for me and still is at times, and I think that's part of everyone's process, and you put it so beautifully. And I also like this principle because when you look at it on a more metaphysical level, in the sense that if we really truly know that we are all one at source, that when we're giving to another person, we're actually giving to ourselves. And sometimes I like to think of it that way too. Not in a selfish way, but just in a way of knowing that we're connected in that way. And it's like that, it's like, I don't know if you looked at Susan Trout's book, To See Differently, where she goes through the principles from a point of view of a therapist and facilitator, and one of the discussions are of the infinity sign, and how when you walk into a room and what you're putting out there, you're going to get back, and vice versa. It's like, so anyway, yeah, it's a really challenging principle because it has so many layers.
Yes. Yeah.
I once I was begging on the street, and I was hungry, and I asked for food, and there was a man, and he gave me his last 5 guilders, and he said to me, "Oh, sweet girl, buy yourself something to eat." And I never had the experience. This, I thought I could receive, but then on that moment there came a deepening in this receiving, and I thought, well, am I able to really, really, really receive from somebody I absolutely don't know, and just say, and just receive it, So this was such a transformation for me. I cried, and I thought, well, giving, well, are we able to receive, really, really receive, without doing anything back, or without apologizing, or make the balance, or whatever. Yeah. So that was well, an experience. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone else who wants to add something? I think Shelley has gone. Okay, shall we go on to the next one?
Yes.
Well, we can let go of the past and the future. And maybe you can see where's your focus? In the present, in the past, in the future? Please feel free to... Oh, Emilia, do you want to start?
Well, this has been life-changing for me, this principle. Because it taught me how to, as it were, cut off my thinking if it was focusing on the past, or if it was focusing on the future. And I truly learned that in the present, hardly ever is there something really wrong. I heard a wise woman once say, it either sits stands or lies down, and it's the body, and all the rest is a story. And this really helped me understand how our thinking can be so deceitful, or try to be so deceitful. And the thinking is not a problem at all. It does not matter what you think. In fact, if I were to get up in the morning and I would like to choose to think only positive thought, I would not be able to do it. But where I can make a choice is whether I believe the thinking that goes past my mind. And I can choose what I want to believe or not. And that is my freedom. That is my freedom. So this has been huge for me.
Yes, thank you.
So
Thank
Lucky,
you.
you want to
I'm in the AA
share about this?
programs, anonymous programs many years, and one of the things in the AA book says about alcoholics or recovering alcoholics, how it says that we're restless, irritable, and discontent. And I've noticed that irritability and that like escaping the present so often, so much in my life. And then sometimes I need to go back to the, what am I afraid of? Yes, about the past or the future. Where's my thinking centered? And to just come into that center of the now and remind myself of the peaceful thoughts and that it's okay to be here and nothing bad is going to happen just by breathing and being in the moment. And so I really like that. And then also having to go back and kind of unravel some stories and the lie at the bottom of them that isn't really true. And when I can let go of that, then I can say, you can just relax and be here now. And it really works. It helps. So thank you. Thank you.
Welcome. That's beautiful what you said about getting rid of the stories. One way to do that would be, if you have a story, to write it out in all detail, and including all feelings and everything that's connected with that particular story. You write it all down, and then you write the same story, and you would write it as if it was being published in a good newspaper, not a tabloid, but a good newspaper, like the Times or the Financial Times or something like that. And the next thing would be to rewrite the story for a third time, but now using only the very, very, very bare facts. So, for example, if you have an experience where your mother and you, or my mother and I, were having a fight, and I would write the whole story, then that would be pages long. If I were to rewrite it again so that it could be published in a good newspaper, it would be a lot smaller. And if I would rewrite it for a third time with the bare facts, that would probably read something like 2 women talking. So that has helped me get rid of a lot of stories. Yeah.
So your diary is very short.
Yes. Thank you so much, Lucky. Thank you.
Yeah, I was in the train and there was a lady, it was very, very hot, and there was a lady, and she was always saying, "Oh, I'm so thirsty, I'm so thirsty, I'm so thirsty." And then the train stopped, I ran out, I bought 1.5 liters cola or water. And I said, "Here, lady, you are so thirsty, here you have a bottle." And she drank it all in one big zip. And then she said, "Oh, I was so thirsty, I was so thirsty." So I learned a lot from that thing, because it was over and still talking about it. So what would happen with our lives if we just would be clear about the past is over.
Yeah. We met every moment like it was, like it is,
Yeah.
really new.
So the past is over, but it's volbracht. What's the English word? It's you know, it's completed. It's just it's done.
Yeah.
You have done it all, and it's done. Dot.
Yes.
And the big dot.
Well,
So,
I think
Sarah.
to continue my example from this morning as I'm thinking it through, I wasn't sure I was going to be able to, I wasn't sure I was going to choose to do this right now, but to do it at some time in the future, you know, because the replay is available, and like I said, I had so much going, and I'm thinking, but in the present moment, letting go of all of the, letting go of all of the learned roles, you know, the roles that you grow up with. As the oldest, I was responsible for the 6 younger ones, and all these shoulds that you're supposed to do, and in the future, not getting all the things done. Right now, in this present moment, I am so glad that I chose to do this. So in the present moment, I'm really happy. Right.
That sounds nice.
Nothing else to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, shall we go to the next one? Let's see. You read it, Emilia?
Yeah, now is the only time there is, and each instant is forgiving. And I love this one in English in particular because of the alliteration for giving and forgiving. I think this is so wonderful. Because every moment has passed already, and it's like the cosmos forgiving everything again and again and again and again. And I love this. I love this. So we were talking about this just now. Number one, is there a problem for you in the present with the past being over and the future not yet here?
Do you want to answer that question, Emilia?
No. The answer is no. But by thinking of the things there is. So I'm really practicing not to fall into that trap. But my thinking can try and teach me there is something wrong. Simply because, for example, the past is in my thinking, is present in my thinking. But I'm learning. Would you like to share something about that?
Yes. I see that the present is so much kinder than all my thinking about what could possibly happen or whatever. So when I'm in the moment, the presence is always kind, and even when it's a difficult situation, it's always kinder than whatever I can think about it, or than whatever I ever believed about it. And the funniest thing is, I always know how to deal with it. And why do I always know that? Because I do. And it can be in a nice way, or it can be in a nasty way, or whatever. But I'm always capable to deal with the present. And maybe later I tell the story when I couldn't, but yes, I always can, because I do. And that's realizing that it gives it relieves me. It gives it's just gives me I know it relieves me just to be aware of that and trust trust that. Yeah. So, Lucky or Sarah, who wants to share about this principle and how to
So
to
were you
use it,
saying
how
that
to deal with
what
this
you were
thing?
just saying, do you think that that is relating back to trusting that we are always, so I guess that goes to the topic, doesn't it? That we're trusting our inner guidance, trusting that we're always connected to source or whatever you want to call God, that the universe is always there to support us in the present moment, and it can't in the future, and it can't in the past. And I think for me, I'm learning to trust that. I'm learning to trust that as opposed to just trusting myself being in control.
So when you are in a situation,
If I
you always know
remember
what to do,
that I know
even
what to
if you
do.
don't like what you do, or
Right.
oh,
Right.
even when you don't know, when you don't remember, you do what you do.
Right. I think
Yeah, so you
somebody
always know
called it
what to
my
do.
cloud.
So
You
you
can
are
always
always
tap into my
safe
cloud. You know,
with
the
you.
play on the iCloud, but it's my cloud. My cloud always has the answer.
Yes, yes. So you can always trust yourself, even if we act like stupid idiots. I hear a laugh.
What did you
Isn't
say?
isn't that attractive?
Yes.
Isn't that attractive that you always can trust yourself,
You have to,
even if you
have
behave
to
like an
believe
idiot?
that, though, that you can always trust yourself.
Yes. So, yeah.
Well, how could you not believe it if reality tells you all the time that you live and act
But
and
is
do
that
as you
saying
do?
that the way that you live and act and behave is always perfect? I think that's where the belief comes in, that no matter what it is, that it's perfect. Right.
It must be absolute perfection in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
It must be the
I think
highest
that's it.
that
Yeah,
you're capable of
it's
in the
the highest
moment.
and
Because
that you're
there it
capable
is.
of, and therefore it's perfect and just the way it should be.
Yeah. I remember once asking for, this was about 30 years ago, I was looking for a good therapist, and I asked God to guide me to the right therapist. And because I asked, I knew that whoever the therapist would be, it would be the right one, even if we were to, go apart. How do you call that? Even if we were to say goodbye while we were having a big row. I just trusted that. No matter what form it would take, it would be the right therapist for me because I asked.
Mm-hmm.
It would be the highest thing possible.
Did it take you a while to get to that point, though?
So, yeah.
Well, this was many years ago, and I was happy with that lesson, and I was very happy with that. I was very happy I could remind myself to trust that.
So let's go back to the principle. Now is the only time there is, and each instant is forgiving. When we apply the principle to this story, that maybe we are upset, and we realize now is the only time there is. So in this moment there's an upset, and each instant is forgiving. So imagine you forgive yourself the upsetness from the moment. So there's upset and I forgive. There's upset and I forgive. And when we say everything is unity, everything is one, everything is love, then I conclude in that moment that love appears like what it is on that moment. And when I don't add a story to that, it comes and it goes. It just disappears in an instant. So what if we would just don't attack ourselves on our highest offer in that moment only?
Oh, yes.
So lucky you had your hand
the whole
raised.
idea of being in the present, and just how habitual it can be to not be present, and that it's an ongoing work for me to remember that I am here now and it is okay, and just be comfortable with that, and I don't have to do anything, be anything, all of that stuff. Yeah. No, just that comment.
You have a question about that? Yes, yeah, I understand. Yeah.
Well, I just kind of.
So what would be helpful to remind yourself of this principle?
And then I bring myself kind of back to my breath. And remind myself that it is okay to just be here, and I don't have to be or do anything great. It's okay as it is. To just observe it as it is, be in it as it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And Emilia, how do you remind yourself?
I remind myself very often that it is that's enough to be mediocre.
Yes.
Can I be satisfied with mediocrity? That's how that takes away a lot of stories. That takes away a lot of stories. That takes away a lot of comparison with other people. That allows me to be me.
Yeah, and not to be holy all the time.
I'll talk to you about that later.
Imagine when you are holy, you can't tell a joke.
Yeah.
little joke.
What's that for you?
Yeah, for me it's really the to remember that there is niets aan de hand. There's no problem at all. So it's another way of saying all is well, but it's a stage before that. So there's niets aan de hand. How would you say that in English? There's just no problem at all.
Yeah. There's just no problem.
There's just no problem, and maybe I think there's a problem, but the truth is there's no problem at all.
Oh.
Yeah, all is well.
Yeah.
Okay. Miranda Palmer. She came in.
Hello, Miranda. Hi. We were just going to move to principle number 6.
Yes, there we go.
We can learn to love ourselves and others by forgiving rather than judging.
So the question would be, can you tell us about the situation in your life? You really had the feeling, I have to forgive this. And why did you do that? Or why would you do it? Do you want to start, Emilia?
let me think, because it's funny because my mother and I really had a very difficult relationship all my life, and she passed away. And when she passed away, she, on her dying bed, she asked me for forgiveness. And I said, unconditionally, I said, yes, no problem. And the thing is that later on I came across a lot of things that had happened in the past, and then I started questioning myself, did you forgive? And the answer was yes. The answer really was yes. I can so feel it at that bedside that I did forgive unconditionally, and this were my lessons. This was something for me.
So what made you could forgive in that moment and not before?
I think a big part of that was her acknowledgement that some things, that she was sorry that things had gone the way they went. I think the acknowledgement was...
So the openness about it.
Yes, yes.
The openness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so who wants to share about this? I see Lucky, Miranda, Sarah, 3 participants. And Miranda, you have to put your microphone on when you want to share. Who wants to share? Be welcome. Hello from New Zealand.
Welcome.
Sarah, Lucky,
Miranda,
who wants
if
to
you're
share,
able
or
to,
Miranda?
you can turn your microphone on by using the icon at the top of your screen that looks like a microphone. Click on the down arrow and turn on your, connect your mic and adjust the volume from there if you want to speak.
Does that work? Hello. Yeah.
So yeah, Miranda, hi.
Forgiving is, I
Please.
think I've forgiven sometimes, and then I find that I
Mir-
still have things that trigger me and work to do.
And what would be helpful for you to remind yourself of with regard to forgiveness?
Find out what's holding me back. I have a lot of I guess blocks to work through. I feel like I am at peace sometimes, and then other times I go back into quite a fearful state, and how to stay more in that loving and accepting stage, I guess, is how do I do that more? How do I truly know that I've forgiven? That might be the issue.
And if you are in a fearful state, can you forgive yourself for that?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I think that would be something I need to look at.
Would it be helpful? Mm-hmm.
I'm so amazed in regard to this principle that sometimes so very small issues can travel with me for years, and all kind of things happen, but this very tiny small issues, they when something comes up, it's this what's coming up, and it's about nothing, you know. It's tiny little issues, and I'm amazed about that. and mostly it concerns self-veroordeling,
Self-blame.
self-blame or self-judging. I should have done that different, or I should have done that in another way. And then this old story from 30 years ago comes. Oh, that moment, that was not nice what I did there. I should have done it differently. Yeah. Lucky or Sarah to this principle? No one?
Well,
Let me see. Let's go
yes,
to 7
forgiveness
then.
is so important.
Lucky.
And I had so much
Welcome.
baggage. They call it baggage. So yeah, it really is that carrying that heavy load. And yeah, I've experienced that when, and sometimes it doesn't come very quick. Sometimes it's had to, like with a thing with a lot of stories attached, like with my parents and such, there would be, you know, I had to maybe get the stories out, but I would pray for them every day. And sometimes when, you know, something big happens, it's like, you know, prayer every day, and the stories may unfold. Now and again you get one, and then you listen to yourself, and then you give yourself some love and encouragement, and then you can move on. And it can take quite a while, and has taken quite a while in some situations, but to just keep working on it. And then instead of every time I think about them during the day, rather than just being angry and leaving it at that, it's like, oh, to put some love around it and put some love on it, and love to myself as well. So that gives me the, you know, the whatever I need to move on from it. So thanks. Yeah.
Thank you.
I want to add a little thing to the forgiving in this. We can learn to love ourselves and others by forgiving rather than judging. And forgiving is for me, another word for forgiving is just say yes to what has already been gone. It's a yes to how the things went in life, and a letting go of the wish that it would be never different. And it's just this jazz. I know Jerry, once Jerry made stickers and to put in your shoes, and they said yes. And so may every step be a yes to whatever happens, or to me. And it was great. I had these stickers for years in my shoes. Just yes,
that's so
yes,
funny.
every
When
step,
you said
let it be a yes to
I thought
whatever
you meant,
that is.
oh, they would put
And
it
that's,
prickly in
for me, it's the same
inside
as
their
forgiving.
shoe, so that they would feel it when they're walking.
Yes. Okay.
And sometimes life is like that. And sometimes you have to get used to the stickers in there before they might change. Thank you. Funny.
Not prickers, but stickers.
Oh, well, I would have thought of that a while ago.
No self-mutilation.
Oh, man. No. But
Yes.
every time,
Now I get it.
when I put on my shoes, then I see these stickers, you know.
I wanted to thank you for
It's a
reminding me
reminder,
about
a
those
reminder,
stickers,
yeah.
because they actually sent us some, and
Okay.
that's what we're doing. We're doing this principle in our group this
Sarah,
week.
you
so
want to add
I'm
something
glad
to this
remember to bring
principle?
some. And also thank you for that reminder about saying yes to what has been and not wishing it could have been any different, because that really does add to a lot of self-judgment about things that you can't change. Yeah, really. And then of course self-judgment just gets projected onto others. So, but I've gotten really good at not at
What a hobby,
recognizing
yeah?
that it's self-judgment. But it's a process of letting it go. So this is a great reminder. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So let's go to number 7. We can become. What do you think of the little drawing there? Do you want to say something about the drawing, Emilia?
I love it. I love it. It's so helpful in reminding me that I can choose what pair of glasses I want to put on. I can choose what I want to focus on.
Yeah.
And that's really helpful. That's really helpful.
Okay, we can become love finders rather than fault finders. And what are you looking for in general? Are you looking for love or fault? Is it a yes, or is the basic attitude in you? Is it a yes or a no? Is another way of stating that.
I'd like to think it's a yes.
Yeah.
But there are exceptions. There are exceptions. I can name at least one person in my life that it triggers something in me, and it's so hard to see love.
Yeah.
It is so, and I know that in that time, I'm asking for help.
Okay, but let me ask you a question. Do you love her?
No.
Are you sure?
No, because there are. I've had the experience also with her that there is love, and that truly all is well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so what story do we tell? What story do we tell?
Yeah. Well, it feels when something happens for lack of a better word, in the ego vicinity, I am not able to look past her seeming faults.
Okay, past the outside.
Yeah, exactly.
Appearance.
Exactly.
So, yeah. So where's the focus?
Yeah.
Where's the focus? Yeah. I must have looked, I must have overseen something.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so how is it for you, Miranda and Sarah? Love finders or fault finders? A yes or a no? Who wants to share? No one wants to share, or not yet maybe. Well, I think, let me say something. I think when we, to become love finders, I think it needs a decision. It takes a decision, really, really, really to find love, and not to be confused about love. Just to see that appreciation is love, that kindness is love, that inner joy is love, that just laughing and sharing is love. So can we become love finders in every relationship and not have an idea about how love should look like? So Miranda, you want to share?
Different circumstances. I mean, love sometimes might be giving someone more attention, but love sometimes is love sometimes something that knows that it needs to separate from someone because they need to grow. How does love look in all different situations?
Yes. So the main question would be, is there in your own heart, um, is there a yes or is there a no? I think we are, well, there's a lot of confusion about that. If he could find, for example, with the people we live with or the friends, if he always could say there's a yes, as Emilia did. Do you? When I asked, do you love her, and Emilia said yes, in a way I love her. And when we meet, the way of the meeting and the way of the how it appears, it's so difficult for me to look beyond that. So, but when we are aware of the deep yes, then we can handle a lot of strange appearances in daily life. Well, that's my experience.
Yeah.
A bit louder. When you go to the mic, can you find to make the microphone a bit louder?
She's gone for the moment.
Oh yeah.
She's gone for the moment. And Lucky wants to share something. Well, there is
There's
Miranda
Miranda
again.
again.
I'm trying to think.
Could you make it louder, the microphone? Yes, good. Yes. So what did you say? The last thing you said?
Yeah. And how do we find out more about love if we don't think we know how to love well?
So what do you want to say?
Love looks like?
That's what I said.
You were talking about
being
love
in touch
looks
with our
like.
spirit. How do we get more in touch with our spirit?
Okay, Emilia,
Well, I don't have
Lucky is
anything
gone. Sarah, do you want
in
to add something
particular. I
to
mean,
this
I appreciate
principle?
I appreciate the feeling of the deep yes. I like that awareness. And I've been thinking about that. I don't have anything specific because as usual, it often is hardest to apply it to ourselves. So I don't know. I don't have anything. I mean, I feel like I don't have. I had a pretty easy path. And I'm grateful, and I'm realizing that more and more every day. Whether it's because, and I think part of it is because I grew up practicing a lot of this, just not being aware that I was doing it. So I've always been a pretty peaceful, happy person. And now I seem to be working more on the understanding of how to connect with other people on different levels and to share this in ways that aren't just by words. So being a love finder in that sense is being able to have empathy and share the love that I have in my heart with another person. And reflecting to them and mirroring to them, as Jerry always says, you mirror their light to them, and that's how they see it sometimes. So I think that's also part of being a love finder rather than a fault finder. It's what are you mirroring for people, and what are you seeing in their mirrors of you? What are you choosing to see? Is it?
Yes.
I work a lot with people who are in a divorce or just divorced several years ago, and then they come in a big fight, and mostly they have children, and then I always ask them, do you love your children? And then they say yes, and I say, would you have such a lovely children without this particular father or mother? And then they say no. And then I invite them to say, thank you, husband or ex-wife, for these wonderful children. I will be forever, ever, ever grateful for such lovely children, for such loving children. And that is if the no from the duality changes in a yes from unity. So because in the heart of the children, the parents are always together, and I think that there is a shift from becoming a fault finder to the love finder, and that opens so much. So and it
Immediately softens.
it softens the relationship, and it makes it it makes it more open and more understanding, and with more compassion in it for everybody's role in how things can go in life. So that's really sense that you really can sense it on the moment that it happens, and it's so wonderful. So that is how we work with it here.
Yeah.
Okay. Shall we go to the next one? Or is okay? Let's go to the next one.
We can choose and direct ourselves to be peaceful inside, regardless of what is happening outside.
It's your favorite.
My favorite, absolutely. This has been life-changing for me, really has. And it has been life-changing ever since I added one piece to this. We can choose and direct ourselves to be peaceful inside, regardless of what is happening outside, and regardless of what is happening inside. And that has been life-changing. I remember a period where I was really depressed, years ago, I was really depressed, and I was angry, and I was sitting at home, and I was furious inside. I was boiling, and it all looked very fiery. And while I said I can be peaceful inside regardless of what is happening inside, there was no problem. There simply was no problem. I saw myself sitting there in this chair being fiery, and I can be very fiery, mind you, and there was just no problem. It was just something that appeared in the moment, and that was it. And that moment lasted several months, mind you, but it didn't matter in a way. So that's what I'd like to share about this. That was really mind-changing, life-changing.
So it was a yes.
It was a yes, yes.
It was a yes.
Yes, absolutely.
A yes, and a realization that it was just that moment.
Yeah. Even though that moment lasted several months.
Well, yeah,
with other moments
that
in between.
That the fiery thing was just a moment. Well, it's a hobby.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So I really have practiced that principle, and still do sometimes practice that principle, because well, it seems like there's happening always something outside and inside. But it's, practicing it a lot, is also it's also a funny thing. So when we don't take all the stuff, all the stories too seriously, it's like playing in a show. It's like playing on a theater, and that's that's fun, and that's it's fun. Somebody who wants to share, Miranda, Sarah. Are you aware that inner peace is a choice? The questions or whatever you want to share about it.
I do this all the time. Yes, last year I became very aware that it's a choice, and I could feel it in my body. And
No one at the moment.
No one
my
at the
husband and I were
moment.
going
Miranda.
through a difficult time, and when I was in that peaceful stage, my intent and everything flowed out really well. And then I could tell when I was not in a peaceful stage, the things I did were not received as well, even though they might have been the same things. They had come from a different place. So it's learning to be more and more in that peaceful, choosing to be in that peaceful stage. Yeah, it was a really good lesson.
Yeah, I like what you just said. That
Okay.
that if you don't take the stories too seriously, you can have
Yes,
fun.
okay.
Like in a
Or
play.
Sarah,
And
do you want
that was,
if you want to make some
Yeah.
comments on this one?
that was kind of
Yes.
how that was part of the meditation this morning that I processed to get myself out of that place, was to remember that and this meditation is about being in the new earth, the new world where love is all that is, and that you're the creator of it, which we are, and that there's an area in this new world that what we would call in this life dark figures and people fight, but it is. Then they take off their masks. Then they let go of their stories, and they become just silver light. And that's kind of, to me, that's what you were saying here. That when we remember that it is a story, and we remember that we're really acting in a play, and that our essence is love, we can take off those masks and let those stories go and realize and have it be fun like in a play. So that really struck a note for how I was processing this morning's stuff. So if that made any sense.
Thank you.
And now I think of I heard somebody saying when something was happening, she said, "What I think now, this is my ego, and I'm not gonna mess with it."
Yeah.
And I like that very much. So when a judgment comes up about what's happening, this is my ego. I'm not gonna mess with it. I like it very much. Yeah. Okay, let's go to the next one. We are students and teachers to each other. So, Emilia, do you want to start?
Well, I think this is so clear. I think everyone I meet is a teacher, and I'm a teacher to people I meet, and I'm a student. So it's interchangeable. This is so clear that this is what our life is about, and I don't think I always recognize. I may not always recognize who's been the biggest teacher or whatever, but all are students and teachers to each other. That's, yeah.
And are you a student and a teacher to yourself?
Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
So can you say a bit more about that?
I think, for example, something happened this week. I can have this awful blockage when I have to do something that has to do with administration. I had promised some people to do something and I just had this blockage and I didn't do it. I just froze. I literally froze. And then I thought, you have to let them know that you're not going to be on time. And even that I didn't do. I just froze. And then one of the people wrote to me an email and said, we've got little time left. Even if you haven't finished it, would you please send it? And there I taught myself, and this is forgiveness too, I did it. It was not all finished, and I just sent it. And I'm so grateful that somehow I feel I mastered a lesson there, that self-forgiveness, that I sent it although it was not finished. And that was great. That was, that for me, that was huge. Yeah.
Okay, Miranda, Sarah, what's your experience with this, teachers and students? I can say a bit what happened to me in a group. I was facilitating a group for years, and we had this man in the group, and he was an intellectual who had he read a lot of books, and he was very belezen. How do you say that?
Well read.
He was well read, and every time when we had this attitudinal healing group, he said to me, "Do you know Jung? Do you know Freud? Do you know
any other great writer?
Any other great writer? Do you know this one and that one?" And then I could say yes or no, and then, but mostly I said yes, and then they started a talk about the writer, and I thought, well, I have to do this in a different way. So I decided the next time, and every time the next time he would ask me, "Do you know that writer?" I would say no. And what happened was that I had to take the blame and shame of in my own head of that people would think of me that I wasn't well read at all. But I thought I have to do this so to stop this discussion about what people write or what well-known writers write. And it was such a great lesson for me that somehow this idea of being someone who has read a lot just disappeared, and now I don't care at all. So I really it was great for me just to do it that way, to be freed from the idea that I should have read everything.
I'm a pediatrician, so I had lots of opportunity to appreciate
Miranda or
children.
Sarah,
One of the reasons I went into pediatrics was because children are so honest that I really appreciated that. They kept me grounded and real. You know, it's like they see right through you, and I'm used to that with children. But this weekend I had an experience with a friend that, while we were gone, I mentioned we were gone, was watching our house and our dog, and so I texted, and it was really, really hot here, and I texted him to ask him how he was doing, and to ask if he had done some things for the house to keep it cool, since we don't have air conditioning. His answer to my text was, basically, was I asking of how he was doing, or did I really care more about the house? And not in those words, but basically he called me out. You know, he saw right through my text. But it was only partially true. But the reason he was such a teacher was because he really forced me to look at my communication honestly. I had to own the fact that, yeah, maybe I was a little more concerned about the house than I was about him. I had to accept that I had put that out there, and that's what I had been feeling, and it didn't make me feel good about myself, but it taught me about myself. And then I was able to have the opportunity to forgive myself. And with my back to the forgiveness thing, I just wanted to share that my sisters and I, being long-term students of the Course in Miracles, have this saying that when something gets us upset or we start judging, we just call it a JAFO, just another forgiveness opportunity. So and my sister and I worked together, and we got a lot of JAFOs, but we reminded ourselves of them, and it was easier to see them and then let them go. So that's been something that's been really helpful for us. Just up JAFO.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, but we've still got
Miranda. Huh?
9 minutes.
9 minutes. Okay, we go to the next one.
We can focus on the whole of life rather than the fragments. Els, what would you like to share about that?
Yeah, well, the focus on the whole of life, you could say you can focus on unity, you can focus on love, I can focus on all is well, I can focus on, well, it's no problem, of course, when you take a good look when you cross a very crowded motor road or motorway, but it's wonderful when you deal with the details of life, that there's an awareness about that all is well. And that's again, all is well, all the words we can use, it's a yes. I think life is a yes. Unity is a yes. Unity is a yes to everybody, everyone, belonging. It is yes, we all belong. And being aware of that makes living life light. It has a brightness and a light in living life. So I would say when I'm really stuck in something, I know there's fragmentation. The rest goes, and it brings, it's my experience, that brings depression, and it brings darkness, and it brings being really tired. And the other, realizing that it is a play we are acting in, gives me, just in a funny way, gives me, it brings laughter.
Yeah.
So, Emilia.
I think fragmentation for me always has to do with the ego. So every time I do not see the light in another person, but I see fault and myself, yes. Thank you for reminding me, Els. Thank you for reminding me, yes. That is fragmentation. I'm dealing with fragmentation. And it all depends where the focus is. That's what I can share about this.
Okay, that was Emilia. Let's go to Miranda or Sarah. Miranda or Sarah, do you want to share? I don't see a microphone. So let's go to the next one then.
Since love is eternal, death need not be viewed as fearful. In a way, this speaks for itself as well. And that also goes, that is what I learned in depth from this principle, that also goes for the death of the ego. How many times can you die? Multiple times.
Well, the ego maybe.
The ego can die multiple times.
Yes.
Yes.
But you?
In different layers. And I can die only once.
Okay.
Only once. Yes.
Since love is eternal, that need not to be viewed as fearful. I had this experience when the sister of Anya died. I felt she never left us. And my father died. I felt he never left us. That's, and I'm aware of that, probably a result of all this practicing in Attitudinal Healing and in A Course in Miracles. It has to do with trust. It has to do with opening the heart and being aware of the connection that is there. And the connection already was there when we were alive and kicking, and realizing that the connection is there when we are not together in one room. It's just a connection. And forgiving, so say yes to what happened, yes, how it went in life, how it went with the parents, and realizing that they did their best offer, and that I as a daughter did my best offer, and I as a friend do my best offer, realizing that we all do our best, and just say yes to that makes a connection. And it's in this saying yes, there is an instant forgiving. It's I don't know, it just seems to work like that for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when here the word death comes, yes, it's death of the ego, but the strange thing is that the fear of death of the body. How many times do we die in our minds? Do we let the body die, and the body only dies once, and never, not one day earlier than it does, and well, the realization of that, we only die when we die, and not one day early, and that's. It was a liberation for me, realizing that.
Both my parents have passed.
And love just goes
on.
And, well,
I think
that's what I have to say.
My mother was
Sarah,
15 years
anyone
ago,
who wants
so
to share
I was just getting into this sort of awareness of myself. And when she went, I didn't have the words, but I did realize that our relationship, not that we ever had a bad relationship, but our relationship changed so that it was, all of the baggage was gone. And I knew that she saw me as I really was, and I was able to experience her in a different way. And so that was part of my really becoming aware of love being of that connection being eternal in a different way, that it's not about going to heaven and seeing somebody or whatever, that, the teachings of different religions are. It really is a connection. So when my father passed, that was only 4 years ago, and it was a totally different experience because we were so connected, and I was aware of that connection, and I understood more of what that meant. And it was almost like I didn't have to even grieve. I mean, I did, but I didn't. I miss his eyes. I miss his touch. I miss his, the physical of it. But I never have felt disconnected. I think that this kind of work has made such a difference that way. It really has, and it's not just with people; it's with everything. It's with a change in your life. It's not just physical death. It's the ending of something and the beginning of another, and letting go. It's just letting go. No.
Yeah. It's not even ending in a way. Thank you, Sarah, for sharing this.
Yes.
Miranda, you want to add something to this? If not, we go to the last one. Okay. The final one.
Yes, we can always perceive ourselves and others as either extending love or giving a call for help. That has been very helpful. Certainly not only in recognizing that in other people, but also recognizing that in myself. When I'm having a call for help. And that softens everything. So, yeah.
What does a call for help look like in your case?
In my case, it may, for example, when I look at about the person I was talking about earlier, every time I do not feel at one with, I don't experience a unity or I don't experience that all is well, that is when I know I have a call for help.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you recognize calls for help in other people, it says, and what is your experience with this? There was a time I never could recognize that people were fearful. I just couldn't recognize it. And then somebody in my said, oh, that man or that woman is just afraid. And I thought, well, just afraid. Okay, just afraid. So it took me a while to recognize that people are afraid. And I'm not still very good in it, recognizing that people are afraid. But maybe I'm not very good in recognizing that I am afraid. I can imagine that's the same thing, you know, just not recognizing it.
And listening to you, it made me wonder if sometimes I don't recognize it.
Miranda, Sarah,
because then
someone of you
have, I feel I have a responsibility. I can't just be mad. What's the next step after you recognize that? And I'm just feeling like I think there's probably times when I don't recognize it because I don't want to recognize it. I don't know if you ever have that.
Yeah. Yes. A little laugh. Yes, of course. Yeah. It isn't always convenient to recognize it in the ego's mind, in the ego's idea, of course.
Especially when I want to be right.
Okay. When you want to be right instead of happy.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Well, Miranda, do you want to add something to this? Oh, great image. Yeah. That is Trish.
Yeah.
What would the next step be? Yeah, well, Emilia.
I'm just wondering what this is about. What would the next step be?
Is it about Principle 12, Miranda? Miranda's typing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Once it is, yes.
Yes, well, then what I do is just in myself I say help. And then it softens everything, and then I say help, and usually
yeah, thank you. That
I
was
just
very
lean
helpful.
back and listen.
And to whom you address the help?
To the cosmos, by lack of a better word.
To your heart?
To my heart, yes, yes, yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
to your heart.
Yeah.
Miranda, please speak.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Well, we can always perceive ourselves and others as either extending love or giving a call for help. What would be the next step? Forgiving. Forgive yourself. Just forgive that it happened.
Mm-hmm.
And realize that it is over, that it is gone, that it belongs to the past, that it is forgiven already. So love has already forgiven it.
Mm-hmm.
You are the last one to do it. Well, that's the invitation.
Thank you all.
Well, I think
We've come to the end of...
we made it 2
I'd just like to
hours.
say,
Yes. I
thank
think
you
you've come
very
to the
much.
end of this meeting. Maybe a last word from
we have
everyone.
to shoot.
Miranda, Sarah, Trish maybe. Can I invite you to have a last word, and then Emilia and maybe I?
Yes, I
And
also
then,
wanted to say thank you.
we
It
finish
was,
this meeting.
I'm glad
Miranda, do you want to
that
start?
you forced me to immerse myself in it, as opposed to, which was really nice, and
Very welcome.
I'm grateful because I was able to
Thank
stay
you,
present
Miranda.
for the whole 2 hours.
Thank you also very
and
much. Sarah.
I learned a lot, so thank you.
Yes, thank you both so much for this exploration of the principles as such powerful tools for having a happy life. And I really love all the questions. I think the next time I feel stuck,
Okay,
welcome.
thank you so much for whatever you shared with us. And Trish.
I'll use these as tools to help me to let go of whatever blockage I'm experiencing at the moment. So this has been a really wonderful time for me too. Thank you so much.
Very welcome.
Thank you so much, Trish,
Yes, if you give
for
permission,
making
I'll
this
be happy
possible
to
also.
provide the
And here
slides
comes
for
Emilia.
Yes, I'd
people who
like to
registered,
say
and
that too. Thank you very
we'll
much
be
for the
receiving
opportunity
the
that we could
recording.
do
I can
this.
also send them the slides if that's okay with you.
I saw that Lucky just asked in the type,
Yeah.
could we download the slideshow?
Oh, wonderful.
Maybe Tricia
Okay,
could say
we'll do that
something
too.
about that.
Yes, okay, of course. And when you want, you can put them on the international website. Yeah. Yes, yes. So once again, I want to say as a last word, thank you to all gathered here. Thank you,
Bye.
Trish, for making this
See you next
possible.
time.
Thank you, Miranda, Sarah, Lucky, Shelley was there, Catherine